Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited today to have a holistic health and chef with us. We have Hadassah Patterson, and her business is Yes, Chef. Tell me the best. I think it's Yes, Chef Beauty. And she creates beautiful salt scrubs, bath scrubs, and she's actually going to be doing a giveaway. And she's going to talk to us about holistic health, especially during this time. So thank you so much for being here, Hadassah. You can go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Okay. So I'm a local chef from North Carolina, and so what I was saying, I got into skincare very organically. My parents were North Carolina natives, so we have very deep roots here, and they always taught us that it was very important to minimize toxins in our diet, in our life. But it was always very important for us to keep as little chemical chemical influence in our dietary habits. So one of the things that we were always very careful about is reading labels and understanding what kind of chemicals were being used as additives in food, because they both dealt with a lot of our family traditional, remedies and what have you. My father was a naturalist, very diehard naturalist. And so I spent a lot of time with him because of where I came along in the family, and I was the next to the youngest. So mom had the baby, and I was with my dad. And so I spent a lot of time with him outdoors in the garden, and just kind of puttering around. And he would always show me different things, what to avoid and what to use, and what was okay and what not to do. And so we got really used to, that kind of life, that very fresh, natural kind of life. And he was very adamant about no artificial colors, no preservatives, no artificial flavors. I mean, nothing fake, no fakery. Oh my gosh, he was very, um, very stringent about that. And now, as an adult, I really appreciate that because there's so many things that can go wrong with kids, behavioral issues, and so on, because of some of the red dyes and what have you. Um, so I think we were actually pretty fortunate growing up to have that kind of background. They sold natural vitamins, aloe vera juice, and that kind of thing. And so we were always around um, natural, um, organically produced type of lifestyle products. So that was kind of a thing for us. My mom really did not use a lot of cosmetics, but the one thing that she would use was like the chocolate lipstick. So I guess we just kind of always learned to take advantage of what was available from the earth and to eat in season. And that kind of thing really sticks with you. I think it's one of the catalysts for me as a chef. When I first started in culinary school, I was covering during farmers market, and it was kind of my happy place. And you come across all kinds of people, and all different shapes, sizes, colors, whatever. And so I got to know a lot of the farmers, by first name. We go and we hug and everything and talk and share. And I said, what you have today, that kind of thing. So you learn a lot actually from the people who are growing the food, who are involved in the day to day, digging in the dirt and actually growing our food for us. And they're so much smarter than I think people recognize. A lot of us folks have degrees in agriculture and science and some of everything. So I remember talking to one of the farmers of Muzan soap that do goat milk soap. And so I was explaining, that a lot of people don't really recognize how many additives are in some of the products. And so we were talking about that, and they were telling me that a lot of the lotions and what have you actually have lye in them, like sodium hydroxide. If you look at some of the labels, they put lye in there to dry your skin out on purpose, and then you use more of it, and then you buy it again more quickly. And it's just this cycle of dehydrating your skin, and heaven knows what kind of effect as far as absorbing lye. you know. So I'm really thankful that my dad had that kind of focus with us, and my mom was a label reader. She always taught us to understand what was going in our food and the things that we bought at the store. She was a lab technician at Duke in the botany department for a good bit of our childhood. My father worked in the zoology department. He did all the animal husbandry. So, it was just a very next to nature, kind of life. But I think being more familiar with the medical terminology and the chemical terminology really helped us. It really helped me definitely as a chef and someone who focuses on gluten-free and dietary needs to understand, okay, so maltodextrin, is that gluten-free or not? You have to understand how things are processed and whether those proteins carry over. Will it be gluten-free or gluten removed, that kind of thing. So it was a pretty good life, as far as how I got into going from being a chef to thinking about natural skincare. It just seems like a natural progression for me. It was we feed our bodies, with food, but we also feed our skin by what we put on it. And so my grandmother was also a private chef um, for one of the chancellors of Duke University during the 50s and 60s, just before they integrated the university. And there were chats from time to time, but she grew her own roses, and they were the fragrant kind of roses, the real roses. I call them the real roses. Not the hybrid. The hybrid roses don't really have a scent. They're beautiful, but they lose their scent during the hybridization process. So she grew the real roses, and so I would go out and help her in the garden. She had a vegetable garden, rose garden, and she made her own rose water with that. She would save the petals, and I would always try and play hide and seek in her room because it would smell so good. But she would save the petals and she processed her own rose water and like taste on it. Um, so you kind of get used to that kind of thinking, that kind of making things from scratch from what is available. Um, and so then around that, my dad would he would always recount this anecdote that he was around when they first started making margarine. He called it fake butter. The fake butter, I was around when they started the fake butter. I'm like, fake butter? You mean, oh, margarine? So what happened, his father, my grandfather, brought some home because it was the first time he'd ever seen it. And it was clear, like gasoline, really. Gross, right? Like clear Crisco in a tub or a tube or whatever. And you had to mix the yellow coloring in there to make it look like butter. Yes, that didn't it didn't come out
So
okay.
fake. Wow.
So I mean, after that, they were so disgusted that it pretty much soured him on anything that was manufactured or chemically produced at all. He was like, no, 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 that has artificial colors. No Kool-Aid. We didn't go with Kool-Aid. The pitcher full of sugar and water, never darkened our door. Okay. So if we wanted the fake, kidney stuff, we would have that over our friend's house or grandma's or something, you know. But still, I mean, I appreciate us kids who's like, oh man. But now I'm so thankful because the chemical burden that it places on our body over time, those things accumulate over time. Um, and we don't really even know, we probably won't know for several more decades, some of the chemical load that it has placed on us and what kind of effects that can have on us long term as far as developing cancer and other kinds of issues by throwing our hormonal balances out of whack and everything. You get a lot of estrogen mimicking toxins, and we have to be vigilant having a diverse diet, the leafy greens, the fiber, plenty of water. We really have to be vigilant about that. So I think between that and also being in a kitchen environment, we're exposed to a lot more chemicals maybe during our daily work or what have you than maybe in some other professions. And so you have to learn how to protect yourself, from the environmental effects of that. You get aerosols from the fire and aerosols from the cleaning products, and when you're dealing with the liquid sanitizers, and you have to wear gloves and stuff. So you think about, when you go home, I would think about how do I balance that off. You still want to stay hydrated. We keep our water bottles or what have you in the kitchen. You stay hydrated, but also what we eat. We don't eat a lot during the day, but when you finish your shift or whatever, you have to think about, what kind of food can I eat to kind of offset that chemical load. So it's the whole thing. We have to keep our probiotics managed well because a lot of that sanitary stuff will kill off all of the good bacteria in your gut, which is what we need for immunity. But we can't get sick. You work in the kitchen, you can't be one of them sniffling and stuff. I mean, you could go for 2 years really without catching something if you're really aware. So I was always kind of trying to manage gut health and what have you, my gut health, in that kind of environment. So I really feel like, having that kind of background and understanding that the earth gives us what we need at the right time in each season. And just finding ways to take advantage of that are delicious and healthy. And, I hope I'm going to share some of that today. So what I have, I was thinking about our vegetables. I've got some squash. Let me hold them up. I've got some squash, some zucchini, um, some arugula, and some shrimp. You can use turkey. You can go completely veg, just do the vegetables. And so I'm going to make a quick wrap. I think it's important for us right now. People think that, I don't know why politicians or whoever think that we're just sitting around not doing anything, oh, whatever. People are really stressed out right now. They're dealing with the kids and their education and how to handle that with homeschooling and whatnot. And then, the job changes that are being affected by the pandemic. And then you've got the financial and family strains, kind of shuffling things around and trying to figure out what to do. Some people are having to move. There's just so much transition right now, and people are, everyone that I talk to, they're just really wired and stressed out. So I think in terms of for right now, as far as food, things that are quick and easy that can still give us, a chance to pack some extra nutrients and, in a quick, easy, okay, out the door kind of package. So let me go to the shade. So I'm going to make this wrap, and the shrimp is pre-cooked a little bit. Um, I'm sorry, 1 second. And so what I'm going to do, thinking your cat. So what I'm going to do, these up a little bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of have some. There's gluten-free rice, but of course you can use regular rice. I'm gluten-free for medical reasons, and I've been cooking gluten-free for a decade now. One thing that people want to be aware of as far as toxins and eating healthy, that it's not just the fiber, but also the good chemicals that we have in our food, the enzymes and what have you, antioxidants, and these things actually help to fight against the chemical toxins and help push them out of our bodies. Um, Now, of course, with this, I mean, people don't always recognize that you can have them on. You can saute them, you can throw them on, like I still have a George Foreman grill. I'm sure that dates me. So you can talk about George Foreman grill, or grill them outside. It just depends on the weather. I'm thinking about the weather changing right now. You can roast them, um, a little bit of onion. If you're roasting or cooking, then a little bit of onion gives you some flavor. And people don't always recognize, this is like chopped onion, um, that has quercetin, that has different chemical compounds, onions and garlic, and that are really good for that. And a little bit of spicy. And yeah, that's something I kind of picked up yesterday. Really. Just some shrimp. I do more pescatarian type of diet these days. Um, I like to add for the seasoning mix, um, coriander and a little bit of cumin. And you get a really great flavor boost. Just because of the wrap doesn't mean you can't taste it. Okay, we'll throw a little bit around there. So it has a really great addition. Um, I turn that over. And it's healthy and it's quick, and you can get the kids out of the door without having a bunch of fuss, and it doesn't take very long. You do all of them at the same time when you're done. So with this, you get plenty of fiber. You get plenty of fiber, and you got really great nutrients there. I think in terms of eating your colors, you know, the beta carotene, the yellow vegetables, you get the beta carotene effect, and so you have more vitamin A, which is good for your immunity. Um, Vitamin C is extremely important. Maybe a squeeze of lemon, or think about incorporating some citrus, and actually just plain multivitamin type of situation, because pollution, the chemicals, those toxins, pollution in the water or in the environment, what have you, the airborne type of pollution, actually depletes our levels of vitamin C. So things like red pepper, citrus fruit, um, those things have much higher levels of the vitamin C. Red pepper has more citrus, red peppers have more vitamin C than an orange. Most people are not aware. And the color, that red color, is also a very effective antioxidant. So if you want to look for a deep colored red pepper, that's one of my chef tips. One of those things that I try to do during the winter months, especially, is to incorporate, the red pepper, because you can always throw orange in something and savor it, right? um, but when you're cooking for someone, if you're making up a salad, I always try and find ways to insert some red pepper in there, because it just has so many really great nutrients, and it's good for the building up our vitamin C levels and detoxifying or what have you. Um, One thing I also want to mention with the wraps, you can add carrot. It also has beta carotene, vitamin A. sweet potato and black beans. Sweet potatoes have, so healthy. We hear a lot about sweet potatoes, but they're just really a fantastic way, just kind of overall healthy vegetable. They have a lot of beta carotene, vitamin A as well. And so right now, just trying to keep our immunity safe and sound. Those are really great things to incorporate in our quick meals for skin and body. Now, one thing that people do not always recognize as far as skincare is, we absorb so much through our skin because it's the largest organ on the body. And people think, we absorb 64% or what have you. What actually happened, someone did a study to see how many contaminants people absorb through the skin. And just in the drinking water, like you shower water, um, people absorb about 64% of those contaminants. So you place, and that's just one chemical load. But now you think about you're going to wipe that off, you're going to dry your skin off, and it's going to evaporate or what have you. But with skincare products, we're putting those, we're rubbing that in, and we're expecting it to soak in for the express purpose of helping our skins, right? So when we have those extra chemicals in there, you really, oh my gosh, it really does a number on us to have all of these different chemicals that we're literally putting on there on purpose, expecting it to suck in. Because there are three different ways that chemical toxins can absorb through the skin. You have intracellular, which means they actually go through the skin cells like a direct route, like down the chute, through the pores, through the skin cells, directly to our bloodstream. So some chemicals act that way. Then you have intercellular, which means they're kind of going through the maze, like circling or whatever. But they're going around the skin cells, and so their route is a little bit more circular. So they eventually get to the bloodstream as well. Then you have, I'm going to have to look this one up. I can't even pronounce it. Transappendigeal, which means that it's something that's next to like a hair follicle, and it comes off a hair follicle down into the pore or something like that. So it kind of transmutes there and skips in. So you have three different ways that we absorb toxins through our skin from various skin parts or what have you. But all of them end up in our bloodstream. Yes. And we have no idea some of them because they stopped doing a lot of the testing. There was a study that was done in 2009 that was a follow-up to a previous study, and they found that people absorbed it was 287 contaminants in someone's in the umbilical cord from birth. 287 different chemical contaminants from birth that they found in the umbilical cord of the baby. So you can imagine these are hundreds and hundreds of chemical contaminants that they found in people's blood were in this 2009 study, even the ones who were in the most remote, far off regions, out in the country or mountains or what have you, they still had hundreds of contaminants. And they're removed from the day-to-day traffic and the manufacturing, smokestacks and everything, like we are in the city. So all that said, it is just I just can't even begin to convey how important it is to utilize the most natural skincare that we can possibly find because there's just so many other ways that we can come across chemical contamination. And, so these toxins end up just building up in your body year to year, and then people having inexplicable health problems. And the scientists, oh, we don't know what's causing this level of inflammation. They're called autoimmune disorders. I'm not a doctor and I'm not trying to give medical advice, you know. Um, but when we talk about things that science just can't figure out, we have to look at what is it that they're not saying, you know. And you hear about people who change their diet or change their lifestyle habits, and one change leads to another change, and you're, building step by step. You're building a different lifestyle because you're starting to care more about what you put in your body and what you put on your body. And so it just leads to self care. One step of self care leads to better steps of self care. You're building better habits and lifestyle behind that. And then they feel better. oh my gosh, I never have more energy, And so that's like, ready to go, and everything's happy, and you're more positive. And then I recognize that a lot of times it's those chemicals that have been really interfering with our hormone production levels and depleting us of our vitamins. And so you're not even getting the same level of nutrition from our food, and our gut immunity is inhibited by these things. It's just so on many levels that are affected by some of these chemical toxins. So um, the more natural we can be, the better off we are. So what I do is I work with, as a private chef, I work with dedicated gluten free. I help people who are vegan. I do regular events and what have you too when we have them. But I always try and think in terms of being as flexible as possible because every single body is different. Every single one of us has different nutritional needs. And so it's important, if you have that kind of mentality, even when you're cooking for a large group of people, okay, if I make leafy greens or if I make a pot of greens or something, then I'm going to save a little bit aside for someone maybe who's vegan and doesn't want meat and dairy. I mean, there's just so many different ways that we can make food as accessible as possible for people with all different types of needs. And we need, I think, as consumers, we need to start expecting more of those in that level of responsibility. There's all kinds of attitudes and everything, but I just feel like a chef should be able to cook for anyone who sits down at the table. That's what we do for a living. So having that kind of mentality of inclusivity um, as a food professional, it carries over into everything. So I think about it that as well with the beauty products. I have some that are fragrance free. Um, I have different types of salt itself with the Yes Chef Beauty sea salt scrubs that I make. I went and sourced the most pure sea salt available that we have on the market today. I actually went and researched different sites and different studies that looked at the level of microplastics that are contained in the sea salt now. I don't want to ghost anyone out, but it's just there's just so many different ways that we have polluted the earth now, and even in the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean, you know, they found in some of the most rare creatures on Earth plastic in their stomach. We have got to do better. We have to. We absolutely have to do better. So as far as the sea salt itself, it's coming from the ocean. I know we're talking about people have polluted it with so many, so much gunk and ick and what have you. Then we're making salt to eat. And it's absolutely difficult to find salt that is safe now. It is difficult. I really had to do some digging to find something because I feel like if we're putting it on our skin, it's the same as eating it. I mean, it's still going to blow into our bloodstream, right? So I found the French gray sea salt from Garon Farm. Pink Himalayan sea salt, we use that as well as dead sea salt, with very high mineral content salt because we won't come in contact with our body as long as if we were ingesting it. But to me, it was equally important to make sure that what goes on our skin is just as safe as what we're putting in our body. So what I had here is, I don't know if you can see this, but it's very plain. This is the face paste. It's very fragrant. But I use essential oils, organic essential oils, ylang ylang, frankincense. Oh, they're so aromatic, but they also help relax. You're in the shower and you're scrubbing and you have a steam and everything, and it just creates this cloud of aromatic therapy. And so you're just you're not just washing the stress off, but you're actually improving your health as you go. Eucalyptus is another thing that I strive to include in all of the products. Eucalyptus is an antiviral. They actually came out with some articles, and I'll post that in our chat comments, when we're done. But they just recently found in some of the studies that it's Eucalyptus citrifolia. It actually has antiviral compounds, and I knew that, but it was really great to see scientific evidence backing that up. It grows in all over the earth now, but it was native to Australian Aboriginal product, Australian Aboriginal vegetation. And so the product, the oil that eucalyptus produces is active against the virus that we're looking at now. And so that's really something. So that's something that I'll try and include in all of the scrubs, eucalyptus, tea tree oil, a lot of the woody resins, those types of oils have antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, what we call anti-pathogenic, just a whole umbrella of properties. So it's very important that people understand when you're using something, it doesn't just have to not contaminate. It can actually be beneficial. Go on the offense and provide beneficial effect to us. So it's time for us to really start thinking about, going through this whole situation everyone is dealing with. It's time for us to start remaking our methods of living. Start thinking about how to live on the earth in a less toxic manner. And I feel like the more aware we are of our own self-care, that spills over into how we deal with others. It's this domino effect, and people who are hard on themselves tend to be hard on other people. And people who are not as understanding with themselves, they tend to be not as understanding with their co-workers and their family, or people they come in contact with. So I feel like the more we invest our time and that energy and switching our mindset to having better self-care and just really looking at this whole tragedy that the country is going through as an opportunity to be better humans and take better care of ourselves, and so that switch that we make carries over into everything that we do. So, it's just a really great positive cycle that we begin to develop, that we begin to experience in life. The more that we take the time to just really take care of ourselves. Yeah.
So good.
Much more time.
Yeah, no, we're doing great. I love that you made this easy for people and that we can do this like tomorrow, today, little things, one step at a time. Lotion for me, I use lotion still, commercial lotion. So when I saw your post about lotion, I was like, I need to change that. So I'm committed to making that change. And thank you, because you are giving away a sponsorship. You're giving away a free salt scrub tomorrow in part of the self-love challenge. So thank you for that. And thank you for being here. This was amazing. And I'm hungry now. I want to eat that meal that you made, and I want to hire you to come cook for me. But I really appreciate you. And how can people connect with you and find out more about what you do?
Well, I really appreciate you having me.
Yes.
I want to tell people also, if you want to get in touch with us, our website is triangleglutenfree.com, and then order-scrubs.here. I'll post that in the comments as well. But I really appreciate, having a chance to talk with you, and, hopefully, we can continue to detoxify our lives and think about the various ways that we can engage in better self-care.
Yes.
One step after the other, and we'll get there.
Yes. So good. Thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Cameron.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.